Ladies and gents, welcome back to the channel. As you can see from the title of the video, we are returning to Architects, who have been a very popular band on the channel over the last while, ever since we reacted to Holy Hell. We've had some more, well, a lot more requests for the band, and my relationship with them has been a strange one, to say the least, because I got into Architects in and around the time that Animals was released. That was the first time I've ever heard anything by them. And then that was also kind of the time in which I was getting into metalcore in general. I was a bit of a prog kid before that, but then slowly have been becoming a metalcore head. I'm not going to lie, a lot of the metalcore albums that I've been listening to recently have just been hitting. So Architects, weird relationship, because I did really fuck with them when I heard Animals first, and then a lot of the singles that they released off For Those Who Wish to Exist really grabbed me. Then I listened to For Those Who Wish to Exist, and I just didn't feel like the album really grabbed me as much as the singles were. And then a lot of time passed, didn't really listen to anything by Architects at all, to be honest, and then reacted to Holy Hell. And honestly, first listen, didn't really fuck with it that much either. This video is on YouTube, so if you want to check it out and, I suppose, catch up, I did the full Holy Hell album reaction, and it just didn't click. Like, I could hear there was like a lot of soundscapes and everything that sounded really good, but it just never really felt like some of the other albums that were connecting on a first listen. But in saying that, that has since become like one of my favorite albums that I've heard over the entire year. I've heard a lot of albums. I think it's 50 plus albums that we actually reacted to on the channel from start to finish this year, and that is up there. Now I will be doing a full video where I actually break down, like I do a tier list on the albums that I've heard, so that will obviously be included in it at some point, so you'll have to kind of wait around to see where it does rank across the year. But to get back to the album, man, that album has been so enjoyable to listen to over and over again. Certain tracks on it, like Holy Hell, really clicked with me at the start, and other tracks have just like gradually picked up. So I've actually learned the main parts of Holy Hell on the guitar, so I will actually include a clip of me playing the song at 95% speed. I can't play it at 100% yet, it's still a little bit quick for me, because I'm still like a bit of a noob when it comes to playing the guitar. But here is a clip of me playing Holy Hell at 95% speed. So yeah, I've had a lot of fun with this band in terms of just like learning different riffs. They have like some really complex riffs on Holy Hell that are like really fun to learn, but not too far gone where it's like just like, nah, like if you put in a good bit of time, you can learn them, no problem at all. And the tuning isn't too bad as well. You can play them most of them on a 6-string. So I've had a lot of fun just dabbling in different riffs. And then obviously, just to continue on with the Architects, I suppose, timeline, we then listened to their most recent album, which I actually forget the name of. What is it? It is The Classic Symptoms of a Broken Spirit. So that was their most recent album. I did a full reaction to that. And I kind of stand by the points that I made on that album. Again, go watch that video just to catch up. I'm not going to do the whole dissection of that video. It's like over an hour long. I still do stand by the points I made, that it does feel like a little bit bland, that album. But in saying that, I have gone back to some of the tracks on that, and they've been so catchy, like Doom Scrolling, Be Very Afraid, Burn Down My House. These are tracks that like do stick out to me now that I listen to, and I'm like, yeah, that's a really good track. But I still feel overall that album reminds me of For Those That Wish to Exist, in the sense that some of the singles on it, yeah, really good, really fuck with the singles, but I think as an album in its entirety, it just feels a little bit lacking. So that is the timeline of my Architects experience. This is obviously a new reaction that we're going to be doing, and I believe that people keep like basically shitting on me for saying, Drew, why do you keep listening to all the Architects albums that aren't the best? It's like, man, we're going to get to it, all right? I'm just going by people's suggestions, and the one we're going to be reacting to today is their 2014 Lost Forever, Lost Together, which is the latest Patreon core poll winner. So if you do want to get involved in all the Patreon polls where we decide which albums we're going to do, then patreon.com/DrewFortune. But without any further ado, lads, this one's 43 minutes long, 11 tracks, 2014 release, Lost Forever, Lost Together by Architects. I'm looking forward to hearing this one, because obviously it's been a mixed bag of emotions with Architects So who knows where this one's going to leave us. So let's go. It's funny now, having played some of these, well, not these songs, but some of the songs off Holy Hell, you can hear a lot of the nuance in Architect's music straight away. Like even the, how do I even describe the chord that they're playing there? They really, hold on, let me just pick it out so I'm not confusing anyone. That right there, the higher dun, 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 that is so prominent in Holy Hell. Like that switch of a chord, it's like, I know in Holy Hell the way it's played is literally like, and this is, it's just kind of commented on it because I've spent so much time learning different segments of that Holy Hell album. This sound, I can compare the difference between like this album already and the sound from this album, because this is what everyone's always saying, like their older albums like Holy Hell, and then this, and then I think the one before this as well, or in and around the same time, the older ones compared to For Those Who Wish to Exist and their most recent album as well. The comparison is always that the sound is completely like changed. It's a lot less riff heavy and a lot less, I suppose, technical to a certain extent. So I can hear the sounds on this. There's so much nuance to it that is so familiar to me already just from playing so much of Holy Hell. Like the stretching I had to do for, like, I'm even pull this guitar here. One of the chords, which is again something I really struggled with because I've got small hands, is literally from, and I'm shit when it comes to like music theory and actual knowing what the chords are. But one of the chords I believe is like, where are we? It's like a 4 fret stretch for like baby finger to index finger to get the, it's like, this is in Holy Hell, the actual title track on the Holy Hell album. It's the stretch in the main riff is so hard, and I can hear it's probably tuned the same way in this, if not the exact same chord that they're playing. But it's just funny, I can hear it already. The nuance is so deeply embedded in this one as it is in Holy Hell already. So that's just something I've noticed already. So this will probably be an album that I hope I'll come out with, hopefully loving it from a first listen compared to the way in which I felt with Holy Hell, because I would have loved to, you know, capture my actual thoughts of Holy Hell in the video, because I just felt like I kind of shit on it a little bit, whereas now I love it, you know. So people only really see the video and then they don't really ever get to hear my follow-up on it unless you're on Patreon. But you know, that is yeah, well, that was a lot of talking for the first 30 seconds or first minute of a song. So yeah, like all these riff passages just feel so similar to Holy Hell, which I love.
You fucking parasite!
blare that samples off is iconic. Already, like, I don't know much of their music, but I already just, like, it feels so right when he does it, you know? And I know that's, like, a big part of, like, their fan base is, like, waiting for the blare in the track, you know? It's those open pockets where they cut the drumming out is just so sick, and they do that a lot in Holy Hell as well. I love that. Because it's so fun to play as well, because it feels so much more engaging when, like, if you're listening to the song and, you know, playing along with it while you're playing the guitar yourself. Those open pockets are so fun to, like, you just feel so much more involved in it, because you're, you know, obviously if the drums are cut out, the guitar is like such a massive part of the mix, and you just feel so, like, literally captured by it. It's so good. So I love all that kind of songwriting. This is a sleeper track. I know it's gonna, like, the melody's gonna catch up with me so much, which is what happens so much in Holy Hell. That's 3 blares we've got in 2 tracks. Yeah, it's like angry, but I can also hear that melody creeping in that will catch up with me, because it's kind of the same feeling that I had when I listened to Grave You by Invent Animate after not fully appreciating The Sun Sleeps As If It Never Was. That whole EP by Invent Animate was like, is fucking phenomenal, and I'll get into that at a later date because you'll all see. But anyway, that Invent Animate EP, when I first heard it, didn't really like move me too much. There was certain elements of it that I really liked, the overall like kind of sound of it, and obviously like production wise, Invent Animate are one of the best in the business at the moment. But musically, it didn't really capture me too much. Then I listened to it a few more times off camera, and you know, when I was editing the video, and it just started to grow on me so much. So then I kind of had to adopt a new mindset when going into Grave You by Invent Animate, which really allowed me to appreciate Grave You from a first listen a lot more. And this feels the same way with Architects, because I know how much Holy Hell grew on me, and I wish I was able to kind of get my feelings across in the first, well, I did, to be honest, in the first Holy Hell video, and the Holy Hell video that I did, they were my feelings at the time. I was being completely honest, wasn't the biggest fan of it, despite all the hype, but it just took like 1 or 2 more listens to actually really get into it. And then I started to like individually pick out singles, and now it's like one of my most listened to albums of the year, like 100%. Even though I heard it late on in the year, I'd still say some of those tracks on that, like I abused some of those songs into the ground. Like I actually, some of the songs on Holy Hell now I'm just kind of fed up with because I listened to them so many times. But it's just that same feeling like I had with Invent Animate. Now I can appreciate this more. Although like certain parts of it will obviously grow me a lot more, I can like hear this parts of it now that are like really clicking with me, or that will click with me going down the line. That may sound good right now, but I know that when I listen to it and I understand like more of the nuance, and I understand the certain time signatures and just segments of certain tracks, when I listen to them a few more times, when I start to like predict where it's going, and I can like hear and I recognize the song when I listen to it more, that's when it's you know, I can appreciate that right now, which is good, because it just makes me enjoy doing the video more. Whereas like with Holy Hell, I was kind of like, oh man, people are going to be disappointed with this reaction. But I'm able to take it on board a lot clearer now, because I understand Architect's sound and the ability that they have to allow their music to grow on you. If that makes sense. I feel like that makes sense. Oh, that riff. I am an absolute sucker for any riff that involves like fret sliding, like you can just hear it. And that, I don't know if these are played on 7s. Is this a 7, or are they just tuned low on a 6? I know a lot of their tracks actually do kind of sound like 6-string tracks or 7-string, and then you actually go and look at the tabs and you realize that a lot of them are actually played on a 6. They're just tuned a certain way. So I don't know, this one does sound a little bit lower, but I love how you can like hear the fret sliding. Some of them riffs just incorporate the I love all that kind of shit. Like Look As a Constant by Periphery has a lot of them. Honorio by Time the Evaluator. I don't know how to say that one. It's Onoryo. That track from Time the Evaluator off their album How Fleeting, How Fragile, that has 2 in a row on the opening riff and then the outro riff as well. Those fret slides are just, oh man, I love that shit. It sounds so good. So I can hear it in this. So I'm going to look into maybe trying to learn how to play this. I love all that. Just a bam, ba ba ba. Oh, it sounds so good.
Gotta leave
reference to another lyric that they have in Holy Hell. We were born to burn. Yeah. It's my favorite on the album so far. You're getting spoiled with the blaze. This song has it all. I'm bringing it back. I'm sorry. I'm talking over this at the wrong times here, but this song has it all. This song is incredible so far. But I do want to go back to the lyrics up here. Baby will never lie. The fire at the gates is our saving grace. Remember we were born to... Is it born to burn? Remember we were born to burn. There is a holy hell where we can save ourselves. I think it's Born to Burn. So yeah, maybe the Holy Hell reference, because Holy Hell would have been after this in 2018. So maybe there's some common ground with the lyrics there. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but just something I noticed. But yeah, this track is going off. This is a filthy album. Ugh! He doesn't fucking love us! Wow, this has been, from top to bottom so far, has been so fucking good. But I can see the difference in this music that they used to create and their more modern music. Now again, like I said, I think with the both, to be honest, the one thing that's common with both of them was that their music seems to grow on me over time. Like first listen, it's not always the most impressive to me. Now, in saying that, this album is slapping first listen, but like with Holy Hell was closer to this from a music writing standpoint or a technicality standpoint. The riffs are quite similar. And then in their newer music, it's more like arena sounding, almost like, I don't want to say more mainstream focused. Maybe that's not their intention. I actually watched their interview with, oh God, what's the guy's name? I think he's Craig Reynolds. Is that him? He's a drummer on YouTube. But I watched his like interview or sit down talk with Sam and the other guy's name. Sorry, I'm not too clued in on the band members' names, but it was two of the artists from Architects, one being Sam, he was the only person I'm actually familiar with, and they sat down And they just kind of explained that, you know, they're aware of the criticism because Architects are such a criticized band, which is, I think it's more of a testament to how good they are, because people just expect so much from them all the time and they expect such a certain sound. So I know they do get a lot of hate, and I can see that across the board. Like, a lot of people want like the old Architects back, but both sets of their music, if you're to compare their older music with their new music, it just feels like even songs on the newer album, first listen I wasn't the biggest fan of, but then a few times later, like Doom Scrolling for example, has been like fairly on repeat for me for the last while as well. That song is so good. Whereas first listen, it was kind of just like, you know, but then songs on Holy Hell, like that's something that's been consistent across the board, is that like their music just does seem to grow in you a lot. Like, so yeah, this not a grower whatsoever. This is just hitting straight away. But even like it seems so ahead of its time as well, because even towards the end there with it just reminded me of the newer school, like almost Thal metalcore sound that's so prominent today. Like Invent Animate are doing it a lot with like their latest singles, Shade Astray and Elysium. They've been really like encapsulating this almost new era of metalcore that has like such big open pockets of space with ambience and then like real thudding guitar, like not even riffs, just like open pockets of space with boom boom down 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 down, that kind of sound. And that was like textbook from what is so popular today with like, for again, Invent Animate for example, that are really playing into that like emotion. So this is from 2014 and like that ambience is so popular today. And then this big like arena sound that comes in after it. So, I mean, this album is by definition quite ahead of its time, because this is a sound that's very popular today. Okay.
Survive on this planet, we have to respect the rights of all of those species to survive, because we need them more than they need us. Unless it's nights on broken ships, will the ends of corruption quiet? There is a voice for the shadow speak. Are you ready to ignite the fight? You can hear the cry, the calling out to the motherland. She's riding out. You can
not gonna lie, I thought we were gonna get a filthy blare there. I'm becoming that guy who's like, blare, we need a blare. But it just does hit. I don't know why it does. But it just sounds good before a breakdown. But again, that was a great track, I should say. First bit of a taste of the architects from a lyrical standpoint that I'd be very familiar with today. With a lot of the music on For Those Who Wish to Exist is very like environmentally humanitarian focused. So that track there obviously very prominently has lyrics that focus on that as well. So I don't know when this like whole theme became prominent with Architects music, if it was like kind of in and around this era or if it was even before this, but that's the first track that I've noticed. Not to say that there may have been references to it in the tracks previous, but that's the first time I've kind of noticed that it was very obvious that they were talking about, like, you know, the state of the world's issues and that kind of thing. So yeah, great track again. There's not been a bad track in this album so far. I like how they're leaning into that like harmonic sound as well. There's a harmonic segment in the first part of this riff that was also in one of the tracks previously. I love that kind of shit. Are we gonna get breakdown? Nah. Fade out. No breakdown. Lead into the next track. But interesting, I just had to look up some of the lyrics in that I was interested in seeing, because he said, would you run and hide or stand for what you believe? Maybe Orwell was right all along. So again, I didn't know who Orwell was, so I looked him up, and it is, I'm assuming, reference to George Orwell, or his actual name is Eric Arthur Blair, who is better known as his pen name. George Orwell was an English novelist, essayist, journalist, and critic. His work is characterized by lucid prose, social criticism, opposition to totalitarianism, and support of democratic socialism. And I believe he wrote a novel called Animal Farm in 1945, and in 1949 he wrote a novel called 1984. So I believe he just I'm not going to dig too deep, but that would tie up with the lyrics, you know, if they're referencing George Orwell, if he's like this socialist who is he wrote a novel called Animal Farm. Architects being very, you know, they don't pull punches when it comes to their opinions on, I suppose, the global scale of crises across the world, I guess, with like pollution, the environment, and I suppose political issues as well. So they're very deeply entwined with all that kind of thing from their more recent music anyway. And now the last 2 tracks or so have kind of really backed that up, that they've always been this way inclined with their lyrics. So that is likely who they're referring to when they mention Orwell. So interesting to say the least. But let's continue on with Red Hypergiant. And again, at the end of that, we had that like kind of modern sound that I referred to with that Invent Animate do so well, and a lot of these Thal bands, you know. Currents do quite well as well. Silent Planet, the more prominent bands in metalcore at the moment, do it very well, you know. Bands that can do the old school metalcore sound, but also kind of blend into the newer open pocket Thal sound, you know.
A new consciousness is developing which sees the Earth as a single organism and recognizes that an organism at war with itself is doomed. We are one planet.
Red Hypergiant. I'm trying to think what that could be in reference to. Red Hypergiant. I don't know. That was a nice interlude to break up the chaos that has been this album so far.
Rather than scream like yeah, as a ruthless whisper.
This could be the heaviest Architects track I've heard, especially that intro riff. That was heavy. There it is again, man. Like, this sounds so modern. Sounds so good. That was, again, like I said, one of their heavier tracks. And it's funny because I kind of expected with the... I was worried, to be honest, because with their... This happens quite a lot with bands, is naturally I get into bands from their more modern music. So, for example, with Northlane, I always use that example that I got into Northlane via Obsidian. People suggested that. It was such a modern sounding album. Fucking modern masterpiece to me, anyway. And then... went back to what's the second last Northlane album called? Alien. Went back to Alien. Liked that as well. Not as much as I liked with Obsidian. And then I went back to Singularity, I believe. Or was it Discoveries? No, Singularity. I did that. And it just started to like lose appeal to me as I like dropped back in the years with Northlane. So with Architects, it's been much the same in the sense that I've done their newer projects and then I've moved back. And people keep saying, because it was the same with Northlane, like, oh, you need to go back and do like Discoveries, you need to go back and do Singularity, like that's their better stuff and all this kind of thing. And I get all the hype because people have obviously been listening to them for years and they've had time to kind of develop with the band. But it didn't hit the same with me. I think the production and everything just started letting it down. But the opposite has happened with Architects, where like, although this is 2014, I was kind of worried, like, are people just like living off nostalgia and hyping this up because they listened to it when it originally came out, which is fair enough. I would probably do the same with like certain bands that I would have listened to when I was younger, or certain albums or songs. Whereas like, because you have that like emotional connection to it, you like hype it up a lot. And then when you're telling someone about it, they might be expecting something different. So there's always that worry when things are this popular and when they get suggested like this. But when I'm going back in time, coming from a more modern, maybe crisper production, or a more modern production, maybe crisp isn't the right word because this sounds very, very crisp, for its time. But these guys have had the opposite effect. Like Holy Hell 2018 sounds incredible. This going back like 4 years prior to Holy Hell sounds so fucking good as well. So like, yeah, I mean, they're still a great band, don't get me wrong. Obviously they've gone down a different path, and they discussed that on that podcast that I mentioned earlier. I think it's the Downbeat podcast, maybe that's the one. Is it the Downbeat podcast? I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But yeah, it's just interesting to go back and be as invested, if not more invested, in their older music. You know, for someone like me who has a little bit more inclined to like a more crisper modern production. So to go back and really fuck with music that is 8 years old now at this point is fairly impressive, and it stands the test of time, to say the least. But I've no idea where we are in like context of the entire album. Let me check which track we're on. I think there was 11 tracks. I said we're probably like 8, 9 deep. Let's see.
There, oh there, what a sorry sight.
Yeah, so this is the 8th track of 11.
We found ourselves who stands behind. I'm counting days like they're running out. Let's go in the world, so break the jump. Give us the road, and we'll tie our own nose. We truly believed all we touched turned to gold. We were one, but we wouldn't be sold. I'm counting days like they're running out. There's ghosts in the world, so break the drum. They said the ocean's on fire. Say it isn't true, say it isn't true. The truth never hurt so much. Can we start anew? Can we start anew? There's nowhere to hide. We're facing the firing squad, side by side. They said the ocean's on fire. Say it isn't true, say it isn't true. The truth never
Alright, so you may have noticed off the reflection of my glasses and that I was doing a lot of looking around on this screen to my left here, just because I was interested in figuring out what the actual context of the lyrics was all about, because there was some interesting, you know, the fact that it was specifically mentioning 1986 and colony collapse. I was trying to figure out like what historical event that was in reference to. So I found online, now this could be incorrect, I'm not entirely sure, I'm on songfacts.com, and I believe there's an actual quote from Sam Carter who basically said, "We worked on it for a long time. We knew we had to get it really right or not do it at all. We worked particularly hard on this one." So that is in reference to the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster in Japan, which caused a series of ongoing equipment failures, reactor meltdowns, and releases of radioactive materials following the Tohoku earthquake and tsunami on March 11, 2011. Guitarist Tom Searle told HMV.com, "2 reactors have gone down. There's one remaining. If that goes, then it'll be complete disaster for Japan. It's a tragedy that doesn't seem to have made it anywhere near the media." So, interestingly, it was in 2011, yet the lyrics were "We're facing the firing squad side by side, 1986. This is full relapse." Am I being really dumb here and not figuring out the connection between 1986? Hold on, I need to figure this out because that's going to annoy me. Architects Colony Collapse lyrics. Let's see if we can find anything like Genius where they'll actually explain the reference to the relapse from 1986. Let's see. 1986, here we go. March 26, 1986. Okay, right. Is the date of the Chernobyl nuclear disaster in Ukraine. With full relapse, they mean that it happened all over again with the Fukushima nuclear disaster in Japan. So, okay, that makes sense now. I was thinking it was like maybe a war or something that spilled out in 1986, but I was like, I'm not the best at history, but I'm pretty sure that's not correct. So yes, 1986 is the date of the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. So he's referring to the 1986 disaster in Chernobyl and then saying it's a full relapse because it happened again in 2011 in Fukushima, but it obviously didn't get half the coverage that the Chernobyl one did. And that just reminds me of how good that Netflix documentary is, or not, I don't think it was on Netflix, I think it was on Sky. I think it was Sky, that Netflix, or the Sky documentary on Chernobyl. That was so good. Or it wasn't even a documentary, was it? It was like an actual a full, like fully fledged like movie series kind of thing. So that was an amazing series, and really puts the lyrics into context and gives you some visualization, because obviously you just see like older articles and that kind of thing, but when you can see it in like a fully produced cinematic experience, it really put it into perspective. So yeah, great lyrics as always with Architects. Let's move on.
My best will say when my
Well, okay, so let me just actually... I've seen this mentioned before, but I've never really addressed it on the channel or like gone too deep into it because I'm just kind of still in the infancy stages of getting into this band. I've only been listening to them for the past like month and a bit properly. And just having read up on the Fukushima disaster that architects were referencing in the Colony Collapse track, there was mention of Tom Searle or Searle. I don't know exactly how to pronounce his name. Tom Searle, I'm gonna go with. And I only really know Sam Carter as like, I would know him to see if I was to pick them out from a crowd. That's the only person I'd really know from the band Architects. And I just looked up Tom Searle because I've seen his name mentioned before, and this is going back to like the criticism that Architects, you know, really, really receive quite heavily compared to any other bands. Is a lot of people say that Architects completely like fell off after Tom Searle died, which I've just seen there, and it kind of reminded me that I've never really touched on it because I just haven't gone too deep into the history of the band and the different albums and, you know, the different artists involved. So I just typed in Tom Searle to see like when he was no longer in the band, I guess, because I kind of forgot that he passed away. And it says Architects guitarist Tom Searle dies from cancer aged 28. So you can hear the difference in the songwriting with Tom Searle being involved. And then I don't know what is it Adam? I think it's Adam, the latest guitarist for Architects. Architects members. Let me just double check this. Josh Middleton, I believe, is the current. Adam Christensen. I think Adam Christensen was the guitarist, or at least still is, for Holy Hell, because I've watched a few playthroughs of him playing tracks from Holy Hell because I was trying to learn that track myself, so I was watching him play it and that kind of thing. So Alex Dean is the bass guitarist. It says Dan Searle is, I'm assuming, his brother. He's acoustic drum kit. Josh Middleton, lead guitarist. Tom Searle, guitar. Okay, right. So I don't think this is very up to date, but sadly, Tom Searle passed away at age 28, which is so young, man. Jesus Christ, that is fucking horrible. He died in 2016. So that would have been before Holy Hell and after this album. So this would have been the last album that he featured on. So I don't know if the lyrics from Holy Hell are referencing his death a lot. Maybe I'll go into that album listening to it a lot differently now, knowing that he was not involved in that album, because I'd always heard that he passed away. I knew there was a passing in the band, but I didn't know the time scale of it. So that is interesting, and I wasn't really intending on getting into that, but it just so happened to pop up because Tom Searle was mentioned in the description of Colony Collapse. And I just typed his name in there to see when he was involved. So this would have been like his last album that he was involved in. And you can hear the difference. It sounds quite similar, a lot of the riffs, to Holy Hell, but it's a little bit punchier in this. Like, I think the riffs are actually beating Holy Hell on this one, to be honest. They're fucking sick, man. Every single track on this album has been incredible so far. But a lot of people, unfortunately, I've seen comments, and look, this isn't coming from me, this is just what I've seen. A lot of people say the Architects died with Tom Searle, which is such a horrible thing to say. Like, it seems so, like, I mean, I'm sure it's not always coming from a place of, like, evil, but, like, that just seems like such a almost disgusting thing to put on the current members of the band, you know what I mean? It just seems so, it's in such bad taste to even suggest something like that. Because if that is the case, and I am getting my timelines correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, in the comments, but to say that the band died with Tom after he died in 2016 and then they released Holy Hell in 2018, let me just make sure I'm getting that correct, that it definitely was 2018. Yeah, so 2018 was Holy Hell, and I think All Our Gods Have Abandoned Us is 2016. So maybe that's the album that people always reference to say they massively speak about the, you know, passing of Tom in. I'm not sure, guys. Let me know in the comments. Apologies if I'm getting anything wrong here, but I've seen that comment before where people say that the band died with him, which I suppose it's a testament to how good he was, but it's also kind of like a backhanded compliment to, like, it's not even a compliment. It's just like a backhanded dig at Architects, which just seems so unnecessarily harsh to even go there. I mean, you can definitely say that maybe they prefer the band with Tom in it, but to say like the band died with their member, it just seems so bad taste, and you know. But yeah, this album, incredible so far. Absolutely incredible. If this is his last album that he worked on, it's a testament to how fucking talented he was. And on cue like that, man. That is one of my favorite things that architects do that I've noticed so much in their music is it's those empty pockets of space followed by a din-it, like a part of the riff. It's like they cut everything off, and again it goes back to that like really fun, engaging, bouncy riffs to play on the guitar, because it feels like you're so in control of that segment of the song, because they cut the drums off and then it's just the guitar with like, you know, the atmosphere built in the background, and then maybe sometimes some layered vocals, but it's so fun to play that. Oh, it feels like you're just so, the riff is so commanding. It like the riff starts everything back up again when that cuts off. It's like boom. So good. They do that a lot again in Holy Hell. Again, I'm just so familiar with like a lot of the nuance in their writing because I just listened to Holy Hell fucking hundreds of times in a row trying to figure it out. And there's so many like little segments in Holy Hell that are like that. Our skin shows these crippled bones. You think so? All we are is just a name. It's who we are. Our skin shows these crippled bones. You think so? I'll show you my heart, and I'll show you my heart. I'm like lost in the dark. There's parts of me that I'm lost forever. At least we're all lost together. Oh, I have chills. I have got chills. That's the first time this album's given me massive chills. You can't really see it. Trust me, I can feel it on my back and all. Wow. Jesus. That was... Wow. Woo! That gave me tingles on every section of my body. That was unexpected. I wasn't really expecting it to get that, like, intense. But this might be the last track, because we had like 4 left or 5. And I don't know how many we've done. But I've done a lot of talking for this album. This is 1 hour and 10 minutes. But look, I'm enjoying myself. And I hope you guys are enjoying the video as well. If you are, leave a like on it. It'd be much appreciated. Also, the lyrics at some of the segments in the last track really didn't sound like Sam. So I don't know if maybe they got some of the other band members involved in the lyrics for that. Or the vocals, I should say. And yes, this is the last track. I just checked there.
The
that was amazing. That was one of the best albums I've heard this year, without a doubt. And I'll be honest, this is actually, I planned on filming this video. It's Monday today. I'm actually off work, so I have a lot more time to like get videos out that I need to get out. And I've been planning on doing this. I think I wanted to sit down on Saturday, maybe it was. I can't remember which day it was, but I sat down and I literally filmed the intro to this video, and I just wasn't feeling it. I just was like, I don't want to film today because my energy's not right. And you know what? That's one of the best decisions I've made. Obviously, at the time, I was like very, like, oh, I need to be productive, so to speak, and get the video out for the sake of getting the video out. But I said, you know what? I'd rather not expend any energy that I amn't feeling, because I had very little energy. It was like, I just wasn't arsed. It was one of them days. I didn't feel like jumping on camera. And, you know, maybe it would have been more real. I don't know. But it just didn't feel right to sit down and film. I just felt like no matter what I listened to, I didn't care. I was like, you know what? I just don't want to do this. So I decided to make the executive decision and not do it. And that's one of the better decisions I've made. And I've kind of learned to, instead of just forcing the content out all the time, record when I'm really feeling it and I want to listen to, and you know, I want to discover new music. And that's the best decision I've made, because I really, really wouldn't have liked to think I would spoil my first listen to an album this good, because that was fucking unbelievable. That is one of the better albums I've heard this year, which is gonna make my life a little bit harder for the video that I have planned to do a roundup of the albums that we've recorded this year and reacted to, because there's been over 50, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when it comes to actually sitting down and listening, editing, uploading, dealing with copyright, doing up highlight videos for anything that does get blocked, man, it was a lot of fucking work. But it was the best year that I've had in terms of just discovering new bands, and it set me up for the foreseeable future, man. Like, especially for next year, man. I've just got so many new bands now that I'm kind of have my finger on the pulse with, that I'm expecting new albums from, and I've got a lot of albums to go back with, including Architects, lads. This album is a 9 point. Oh god, is it? Am I just speaking on recency bias? Is this a 9.7 or 8? Like, that was so good. The actual lyrical content as well. I always love when Architects go into that kind of like environmental bag, but then the feel behind it as well, knowing that this, as far as I'm aware, is Tom Searle's last album before he died, which is, again, I'm not too invested in the band as a whole, but I can see why people would really hold this album deep to their heart. And then I believe maybe the next album in 2016, all of our gods have abandoned us, or all our gods have abandoned us. I think that's the first album that is really tied to the lyrical side of, you know, remembering Tom Searle. So again, let me know if I'm wrong with that, but I have seen a lot of people suggest over time, you know, you need to check out this album and make sure you're looking at the lyrics, because it's very, you know, obviously focused around his death. I don't think it's this one, because obviously he would have died in 2016. This album came out in 2014. So, well, I know it's not this one. But even the lyrical content in this is incredible. So everything about, man, the soundscape, the like almost soul segments of it that are like so modern and prominent in metalcore these days, for an album that was released in 2014, is so ahead of its time. Sam sounds incredible no matter what album he's on, to be honest. He always sounds so fucking good, being the front runner of the band. He sounds amazing. The riffs is like what you guys would consider, and I'm now starting to understand, is like trademark Architects, their older sound. And I can start to see, it's funny because I've always seen the comparison with their newer music and their older music, and how people, like the comment I mentioned earlier, people saying that the band died with Tom Searle, which again is a very, you know, I've already made my comments on that comment. It's a bit, it's very disrespectful in my opinion, but I can now start to see that from the perspective of those of you who have been listening to this band for years, where you can see how they've developed and maybe turned into more like arena bands, where they've really stepped into that, like almost, I won't say mainstream because I don't think they're mainstream, but definitely a Goliath in the metal scene across the board, like massive names. So maybe to a certain extent they might be somewhat victims of their own success, but again, their newest album is not that bad. It's not that bad compared to what I maybe painted it with, but it's just different. I can see the difference in sound, and it's okay to, like, you know, for a band to develop. We've seen it like with bands like Bring Me the Horizon. Their older music is very, very heavy, very riff focused, very angry, whereas they've just gone down a completely different path. And I don't think Architects have gone that extreme, because I really don't fuck with a lot of Bring Me the Horizon's latest music. But yeah, I can see the difference, the especially in the guitar writing. The riffage and everything like that is just so good in these old albums, and then it just feels watered down in the newer albums. So I can see it 100%. I can definitely appreciate both, but without comparing it to anything else, because comparison is the thief of joy. I am very guilty of doing that a lot of the time. But look, it's just nice to appreciate a good fucking album, regardless of which album came before it or after it. This is a very, very strong album, and I'm going to say a 9.7 just for now. A 9.7 feels right. There was very few moments in the album that I felt bored. I felt like I always had something to say. Like there was always something that was just catching my attention. So yeah, man, Architects, fantastic band. It was great to be able to appreciate and understand in live time what I was listening to, as opposed to the way in which I approached Holy Hell, which, like I said, I've gone back to, and I fucking love that album now. But now I've got an entire new album full of riffs to learn and to play around with on the guitar in my own time. So I'm very much so looking forward to that, guys. I will leave the video there. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like. It would be much appreciated. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. If you would like to support me directly as a creator, patreon.com/TrueFortune. All the links for that will be in the description. It would be much appreciated if you could get involved. Obviously, there is not just the chance to support me. There's a lot of perks that go along with that. Some videos, like my most recent video before this, the Meshuggah Kolos album reaction, was blocked on YouTube. It was blocked in 90% of territories that my subscribers are in, or something like that. So anything like that, obviously the video can't be on YouTube, so I just put it up on Vimeo, which is a link that comes directly from Patreon. So if you want to get access to any blocked videos, early access to these videos as well, this video will be going out in its entirety on YouTube, but it will be going out 48 hours early on Patreon. All of the polls where we decide on which albums we'll be doing, obviously this one was decided by the people of Patreon. That's where you'll get access to all of that, guys. So again, thank you so much for watching. I'm signing out. What an album. Thank you for suggesting it, lads. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm signing out. Look after yourselves. See you in the next one. Cheers.